So we're going to meet Morgan. So let's go to the next slide. So I'm going to do the presentation backwards. I'm going to start with what are the results of Morgan. So here are the numbers. If you've been following us on YouTube or LinkedIn or Facebook, you may have seen this. Okay, so the technology, the artificial intelligence technology, 99.8% of our loans from point of sale, that means from the time you take the loan application to approval, is done in a few hours, no later than 8 a.m. the following morning. So right now, what time is it right now? It's like what, 7 o'clock? 6:30. 6:30, right? So loan application right now, it will be approved before Buffy has breakfast. And you know what Buffy eats for breakfast? Rates. Right, so only 0.2% of the loans didn't meet that criteria. Right, and then you're going to ask, okay, why the 0.2? We've got all this technology, why 0.2% of the loans didn't meet that criteria? The reason is because we do all of these loans below 620 credit score, manual underwrites, okay, first-time home buyers, less than 5% down. Okay, sometimes the AI can't figure it out and has to go to a human. That would be your absolutely most complex deals that you could imagine, but will still be underwritten that day. Not by 8 a.m., but it'll be done that day. Same thing. So today, right now, is this moment, if Buffy gets an email from one of her customers, maybe tax returns with 5K ones and 100 properties in scheduled real estate, she could drop it into Morgan, and in 2 hours, right? Angel, come on over here. Come on up, Angel. And in 2 hours, and then what happens?
Angel alert?
Angel alert. What's the angel alert?
All right, as of October 1st, we are announcing our 1-hour condition review time.
So right now, today, Thursday, is 2 hours. All right, so 6:30, by 8:30, those tax returns, I don't care how complex they are, they will be reviewed, and final income will be given to you in 2 hours. And Angel just said, by Monday, October 1st, it will be 1 hour. Okay. And that's all technology. Right? And as Angel says, no underwriters were harmed in that process. Right? Buffy's not there with the sword threatening the underwriters to get it done in an hour. No, it's all technology. And when you drop a document into Morgan, and it finishes it, and it gives you a number, it's final. SunWest stands behind it. Right? If there is a mistake, if it overcalculated the income, okay, we stand behind it. That means it will not, it won't be no oopsies. Right? How many times that happened to you all? We get to closing or something, and there's an oopsie, and the QC reviewed something, or another underwriter looked at something and said, oh no, that income can't be that way, or we got to do you refer now. Once Morgan says it's done, it's done. Right. We've had this rep and warrant to our customers for the past 3 years. Right. So Morgan is not new. We've been using it internally for the past 3 years. We've now released it in a broader scale. In the past 3 years, we've had to scratch and dent 3, maybe 4 loans because of this. Right? Out of how many loans we did in 3 years? Probably, I don't know, 50,000 loans or more. Can't even count that high. I can't count past 10, so we got 50,000. So, okay, so that's the power of artificial intelligence, of Morgan, of an automated factory. Okay, next slide, please. So, oh, Angel Alert. I jumped that. Anyways, 1 hour starting Monday. All right, so one of the things here, the goal, I had promised this 1 hour turn time to be delivered by, I think the goal was to have this delivered by April. And now here we are 6 months late. IT is always late. It's engineering teams. No, it's the immense amount of training, programming, data science that goes into this, and the testing we've spent, because when it resolves a condition, it won't get unresolved. It's final. Right? So you can imagine the power of that, right? So you can imagine how much, hundreds, billions of dollars of liability we take on. If this is wrong, the company writes a check. So that's why it's taken. We broke the schedule, but we're going to get it done. But we got it done, and we got it done right. Okay, next slide. So, where is this AI taking us? Okay, so we're at 1 hour on Monday. In the next few months, it's going to be in seconds. So you're going to think of the most complex deal you've ever done. It's usually self-employed borrowers with bank statements and all sorts of funny stuff. All right. Typically, when it goes, right now everyone does it manually. It'll go to an underwriter. You have two problems today. You get these complex deals and it goes to an underwriter, a human underwriter, and that person's going to be like, oh my God. That's going to be the last deal that person's going to want to work on. Okay, so first you have to wait to get the underwriter in the zone to want to look at that deal. So then, when the underwriter gets in the zone, then it's going to be at least a full day of concentration to go through all the documents, all the income, all the numbers, one by one, and come up with a calculation, and you pray that she got it right, because then usually it goes to a second review, especially if it's a large loan amount, right? Especially if it's a jumbo. So days and days go by. It's already 1 hour. It's going to be in seconds. Instant underwriting. Today we guarantee approvals by 8 a.m. before breakfast tomorrow. Tomorrow, very soon, meaning probably by the end of the year, it's going to be down to 2 hours. We will be able to guarantee it in 2 hours. Okay, next slide. Marry your loan officer. Right. Wouldn't you want to marry your loan officer who can deliver the service like that? So, for the realtors in here, do you right now feel like marrying your loan officer? How many loan officers in here? How many loan officers want to marry their realtors? Well, that's the way it should be. Let's go to the next slide. So there's somebody here. There's Ryan. Where's Ryan? Ryan. Come on up. Come on. Can you go back a slide? All right, Ryan. Now you were huh?
Am I going to propose?
No. You're going to teach me how to dance, because you were showing me the dance moves earlier.
Oh, it's all in the hips. That's what I hear.
Right. Okay. Wait. So, go ahead. Next slide.
So happy together.
Listen, he says on the hips. You see, that's how you romance your realtors. All you loan officers in here, you've been doing it all wrong, right? This is what I'm talking about. All right, next slide. So we just released a new version of Morgan this week. This has been like months and months and months and months and months of hard work. We're calling this version Morgan Gabby. So this new version is really fast, improved user interface. The previous version, of those who were using it, there were a lot of bugs on it in iOS. All that has been cleaned out. So, but most important part, the whole architecture has been rebuilt, and the blockchain capabilities foundation has been laid. All right, so I was at Stanford a couple of weeks ago explaining how and I was there's a Science of Blockchain conference they have every year, and I was explaining, basically I spent 3 days there, I listened to everyone, see what everyone's doing. Minds in the universe were there, and all theorizing about how blockchain could be used for practical applications. Okay? But guess who actually had something? All right. By practical, I mean not cryptocurrency. Okay, let me be clear. All right. What we're doing with blockchain is not Bitcoin or whatever, XYZ coin. Right? I'm a real estate guy, just like you. You're all real estate, right? We want real property. Blockchain is the future. It's as revolutionary as the internet. It changes fundamentals of how transactions, people-to-people transactions will be done. We have the only practical blockchain solution. We have over 50 patents on our technology. We've got it all locked up. So let's go to the next slide. So people ask, how does the AI work? How does it know how? Well, it is what we call people-powered technology. It is AI and people working together. So let me give you an example. How many of you here use Uber? Everyone uses Uber, right? Okay, so is Uber technology or is Uber a taxi service? Is it just a taxi company or is it technology, right? Well, it's people-powered technology. It's integrated, you hit the button, a car comes. But there's a human driver of the car. Okay? Because self-driving cars, the AI is not to the point where you can have a self-driving car today. Right? Taxi companies aren't worth a lot of money. But Uber is worth over $100 billion. Okay? That's because it has real intellectual property, a real network. Okay? And it integrates humans and technology together. If there wasn't people driving that car, the car would crash and blow up. And you've seen examples of self-driving cars messing up. Same thing. Self-driving mortgages, AI is not quite there yet. Your mortgage will crash. You do need a human to have their hands on the steering wheel. Keep your hands on the steering wheel. There is a human taking a look at it, watching what's happening. Okay, it gets faster, smarter every single day. The more it's used, the smarter it gets. All right, let's go next slide. So let's talk about blockchain. I know a lot of people here, I talked to many of you before this thing started, and a lot of you here are really interested in what's going on in the blockchain and how does this really work. You weren't expecting Wonder Woman today, were you? We got Buffy and Wonder Woman. What does Wonder Woman have to do with blockchain? Okay, well, first question is, what do you think Wonder Woman's most valuable superpower is? Who votes for her super strength? Most people say invisible jet. Right. Yeah? All right. Let's go find out. Next slide. It's the lasso of truth. Right? Truth is the most valuable power that any of us have. Right? And we can go into that in a more philosophical discussion for another time. If I start going down this path, we'll be here for hours. But the lasso of truth, that's the blockchain. The internet changed everything because it allowed any two people to communicate. But internet also created fake news. Right? It doesn't guarantee truth. The blockchain guarantees truth. When you can guarantee truth, then you can transact directly with each other. then you know that if I sell Oscar this mic for $10 and Oscar agrees to that trade, that truth is bound, the trade will happen, I will get my $10, he will get his mic. Okay. That's the special part about the blockchain. Okay. Technically, how that works and how the truth is ensured, that's a whole different discussion in mathematics and science. Again, we'd be here for hours if I go into that. But the blockchain is the lasso of truth around human interactions. All right, next slide. So, for all the loan officers in here, what do your customers really want? What do your realtors really want? And for all the realtors in here, what do your borrowers really want? And for all the borrowers in here, what do you want? Who's seen the movie? What women want? To find out what realtors really want, I went and I asked and I spoke with the biggest realtor in the universe. Let's go to the next slide.
Jason Oppenheim is the real estate mogul whose agency has raked in more than $1 billion with a B in sales. He's so good at his job that his real estate reality show is one of the top 10 series on Netflix.
All right, so let's hear from Jason. Next slide.
Anything that can eliminate, whatever, hundreds of years of history of where the mortgage and the purchase process is full of risk, unknowns, you don't know what's going to happen, all this anxiety. If you can have a product that eliminates that, just wave a magic wand and it's gone, then you come out with something.
Well, and I would agree, because one of the reasons that I was enticed to work with you on this is because I've gone through the underwriting process many times. I've bought several homes for myself, and I've had such rigorous and frustrating and laborious, weeks upon weeks of dealing with underwriting and back and forth. I've had a couple of loans that didn't go through at the last second. So just from my own personal experience, let alone the experiences of so many of my clients, when I spoke with you, I realized that this is revolutionary, and it is truly a game change in real estate. And I hear that phrase thrown around so quickly, disrupt this, disrupt that. It just becomes obnoxious how many times I hear it, and oftentimes I just completely dismiss it. This is really the first time I actually thought, this actually is disruptive.
Yeah.
What do realtors want? What do customers want? Number one thing customers want, and this is what I told Jason when I called him. He says, you got 30 seconds. So you cold call me, you got 30 seconds. What did I say? So that's all the loan officers in here, you walk into a real estate office all the time and you get thrown out all the time. I've been thrown out of plenty of real estate offices. Right. Those are the good ones. You go back in there because they threw you out, right? So what did I say to him? I said, what if you had technology so that you never get voicemail for your loan officer? So that you never have a situation where you send an email and you wait hours to get a response back. What if you had technology so that when you were in front of your borrower and a situation arises, you get an answer immediately? And he says, okay, I'm interested. Show it to me. Right, and then that happened. Okay. So, how did we develop all of this? Right? I gave you a hint. We've been doing this internally for 3 years. We've been using this technology for 3 years, testing it. Thousands and thousands of loans, only a couple of mistakes. The secret is we were thinking about AI when the rest of the world was still using typewriters, right? Now you think, well, that's silly. How could that be? Well, let me tell you, because AI algorithms haven't changed since the 70s. Right? It's all the talk today, but the technology's always been here. What hasn't been here is computing power. So in the 80s, it looked like AI was always around the corner, just around the corner. We're rounding the corner, there's going to be AI right there, right? Because the math existed. So SunWest, since the 80s, has been collecting the data. Every loan, every transaction, every scenario, every decline, every approval, every customer service problem being loaded in our database. We've been tracking it for that long. And we've been training it and building it and building it. And that's how we got to where we are today. So this is not an overnight accomplishment. This is 40 years in the making. So this is where we started, 1980. And let's do the time warp now. One more time. All right. So all of this technology, from the fax machine to today's Morgan AI, so much has changed in between. All right. And we lived through it all. SunWest has grown, expanded over the last 42 years. We started with, I don't know, Dirty Harry started the company with what? $50,000, $60,000. All that's 1980 money, which is probably like $200,000 in today's money. To where we are today, national company, tens and tens of thousands of loans. And all that data collected over all those years for what do you see today, the AI technology. Next slide. It's empathetic AI. And what that means is the machine figures out how you are feeling and is responsive to how you feel. So it's automated service, human touch, it's convenient, it's on your phone, tablet, PC. It's there for you 24/7. Next slide. It's got 5.9 accuracy rate. So we guarantee, Morgan gives you an answer, you give it an underwriting scenario, it gives you an answer, SunWest stands behind it. You don't have to second guess. Even if it's wrong, even if it's wrong, we stand behind it. I'll scratch and dent the loan if I have to. But the guarantee of Morgan, I will stand behind. Next slide. So, everyone here is in sales. What does it take to be successful? And it's simple. It's like he said, always be closing. In other words, just go out and sell. What do loan officers end up doing when they're not selling? Next slide. 90% of your day should be in front of clients. What are y'all doing here? Go get a realtor. Next slide. Don't manufacture. Could you imagine if you walked into a Toyota dealership and you said, okay, I want the gold Camry or whatever, in this case, the white Camry. And then the car salesman says, okay, no problem, I'll have it right to you. Then he goes in the back and starts building it. What kind of car do you think you'll get? Right? But that's what happens in the loan business. Right? You go to a real estate office, you get in front of a client, you take a loan applications, and then you all go back and start building it. That's what happens at least everywhere else. It doesn't happen at SunWest. Loan officer manufacturing, which is the way the rest of the industry does it. It's expensive, it's slow, it's error prone. Versus automated manufacturing. Toyota is the #1 car company in the world, 33% of market share, all automated production. The car salesman doesn't make the car. The loan officer doesn't make the loan. Next slide. So, Is this the end? Is the AI taking over? Terminator? Are we all terminated? I'm sure you all seen this movie, right? Okay, finally. All right. So, what is getting terminated by this kind of technology? Anybody want to take a guess? No. The old way of thinking. Right. It's time to upgrade. Right. Upgrade or be terminated. Do you want to be the video star or the radio star? Do you want to be terminated? Do you want to adopt, accept the new technology and move forward and do more loans, do more business than ever before? Do you want to provide superior service to your customers? Do realtors, the realtors in this room, do you want instant answers? Do you want to be in a situation where you never have to wait? Remember Morgan? When the realtors are using Morgan automatically loops in the loan officer. So you start talking about race, start going into licensed area, the loan officer's in it. It's like having a three-way conversation. Right? It's that smooth. This is the future. This is the way loans will be manufactured. Armies and armies of robots manufacturing loans. Just like a modern car factory, you have armies of robots putting a car together. Actually, Elon Musk changed that with his GigaPress. Right? This is very similar. Drop in the document, get the answer. Drop in the question, get the answer. What do you say? Huh? You all logged into Morgan today to get in. That was part of the registration. You have access to it. It's so simple. Use morgan.com. It is a mobile app. Okay, I get this question all the time, which is, do I go to the App Store and do I have to download something in the App Store? Right? The answer is no. This is cutting edge technology. This is called a progressive web app. It self-installs. Nothing to download. So very easy to use. Okay? Morgan even sends text messages. So if you ask Morgan a question, or let's say 1 hour from now I finish reviewing the document you uploaded, you will get a text message saying, okay, whatever you asked is complete, and you click the link on the text message, it opens up Morgan, opens up the app, and you can continue the conversation. Okay? That's the power of progressive web app. Morgan can go out and connect to your customer, send them a text message. Right? The customer, imagine it this way, right? When a customer gets looped into a Morgan conversation, do you want to force him to go to the App Store and download an app? It's going to slow him down. You're going to lose him. All he wants to do is click and go. So Morgan self-installs. It's absolutely cutting edge. Right? I mean, we didn't create progressive web app standard. It's a brand new standard. We just use it. Right? That's the beauty of new technology. It's going to get better and better. So, thank you all. Anybody has any questions? Yes?
Why is the logo a ballerina?
That's a good question. Let's just have Angel explain that, because she was Morgan once. I don't know if everyone heard that. She said because she's flexible and versatile, just like a ballerina.
So is there any advantage to it not being an app that you can download to your phone?
Is there an advantage of it not being an app?
Yeah.
The advantage is that when your customer gets a link to say, hey, join this conversation, he just presses the link and is ready to go. It doesn't have to go and do one more thing. Oh, okay, got to go to the Play Store or the Apple Store and go download something and configure it and all that. Because the minute you make someone go through all those extra steps, okay, it's just, you lose them. The probability of losing your customer increases substantially. Every extra step, every extra keystroke, you will lose your customer. Okay, any other question? Yes?
How are notifications
How are notifications sent? It will be sent by text message. If you have Morgan open, then it'll pop up.
So realtors, borrowers, they're receiving it open, meaning if it's not open, because there's no app, how do they get the notification?
They'll get a text message. They'll get a text message. So that's a good, second half of that question is, today Morgan is not consumer ready. Okay, it's not certified to be used by consumers, although the URL is open, but it says clearly not only for licensed professionals. In 30 days, we're going to have a consumer version, or it'll be upgraded to support consumers. There's a lot of compliance issues to be dealt with before we can officially make it for consumers. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah. Over here.
So the loans, hi. The loans, is it just standard loans, or is it even DSCR or stated income or bank statement loans and stuff?
Yeah. That's a great question. So it does all the loans that SunWest does, which we have the full spectrum from, no overlay government loans, no overlay conventional loans, prime jumbo, non-QM, that includes DSCR, and that's it. I mean, the state, the CDFI loans, but we don't bank CDFI loans. It doesn't do those.
You allow the 100% financing coming over the product?
You mean like the DPA loans?
You can say that.
Right. I mean, we have a number of DPA. We do all the housing authority loans, which are 100% financing. We do all those, and Morgan supports that. So. SunWest and reverse mortgages also. SunWest is one of the biggest reverse mortgage lenders. Right? 90% of the reverse mortgages in the universe are serviced on our technology. Right? Back in the day, we used to process and underwrite and close reverse mortgages for Wells Fargo before they got out of exited the reverse business. Yeah. Yes.
So I know you mentioned this is a very progressive, right, way of doing the loans, but, as we go more through it, I'm sure we'll see more of this. But right now, when we have clients that do want that personalization, or that you say in the text, I think you mentioned that, she mentioned that over there. So if the client does want to have a conversation with a human being, like, because they're frustrated, I mean, you're probably not understanding what I'm saying. So do you guys still provide that service?
Yes, of course. Are you a loan officer or a realtor?
I'm a realtor.
Okay, so you will be paired with the loan officer, right?
Oh, okay.
You'll always have a loan officer. Morgan doesn't disintermediate the loan officer. What Morgan does, it supercharges the process, right? The loan officer, just like that video with the guy making the car, will not end up in the trunk of the loan, right? Shouldn't be in there wiring the loan. Loan officer should be there 100% attention on you, right? So, Yes, exactly. So it's a really good question. I mean, the whole point of Morgan is so that the loan officer, the sales professional, is freed up from the details, the minutia of the loan process. Doesn't have to be an expert on every guideline, an expert on every loan program. The whole point is that the loan officer is no longer an expert on the infinite minutia of this loan business, but is an expert on his or her relationship with you. Right? Should be focused on the relationship and figuring out what works best for you. All right, any other questions?
Is Morgan available for wholesale and retail loan officers?
Yes, it's available for all loan officers, all realtors, and it's free to use. So if you're a broker, if you're a loan officer working for a broker, you can use it all you want. You can drop income documents in it, do whatever you want to do it. We hope you submit the loan to SunWest. If you don't, that's okay too, as long as you're happy. Right? So you can test it out. I mean, if you have a file, drop in some documents and say, hey, what's the income? Are these bank statements good to go? Does this FHA eligible? Whatever, and it'll turn it around.
If we use Morgan, how do we need to check customers' credit? How do they know their FICO score, their liabilities?
Yeah, that's a good question. The question was, what about the credit report? Right? How does a credit report get pulled? So Morgan will pull the credit report for SunWest employees, or SunWest loan officer. Right. For a non-SunWest loan officer, the loan officer has to pull the credit report, and you can drop the credit report into Morgan.
So there's sometimes that I have arguments with Siri, right? I don't know why, but with Siri.
Okay. Yeah.
So will I have arguments with Morgan?
Well, that's a good question. Siri is pure AI, and it's not people-powered AI. Right? It's not people-powered technology. So Siri is your self-driving car. You can say anything you want to Morgan, it doesn't care. Morgan will always tell you that it loves you. You can try that. You can ask Morgan if it loves you. You can get mad at it. You can say, I hate this, or I don't like that condition, or whatever. It doesn't matter what you say to Morgan. You don't have to walk on eggshells. And you all know it. I apologize to any underwriters in the room, but if you disagree with the condition, with traditional mortgage companies, you have to be very nice to the underwriter and approach it gingerly, right? You could tell Morgan, this is stupid. What do you think you're doing, Morgan? Doesn't make any sense. And he doesn't care. Right? You can get right to the bottom line. You can say, hey, this condition should not be here because of X, Y, Z. And Morgan will analyze it. And if it can't figure it out, it automatically loops in appropriate human expert. All happens behind the scenes. Okay? You don't have to worry about that stuff. And no one's going to be offended. Morgan will never be offended, no human will be offended. That's why I said earlier, right? When we delivered the 1-hour condition resolution commitment, no underwriters were harmed in that process. Right? You cannot harm an underwriter, Morgan. So you can just be yourself, tell it, I don't like this condition, or you could even say, can you add another condition? Right? And just move on. 50%, if not more, of a loan officer's time is spent managing personalities. Right? After you spend the whole day building relationships with your customer, and you have to go back and build relationships with your back office. You get involved in the manufacturing process. That's what that means, right? You don't have to do that anymore. You just tell it what you want. Right? It's a computer, it doesn't care. But it does care how you feel. That's why we call it empathetic technology. This is really amazing that a computer can figure out how you feel better than humans can. And the reason is it has no emotions to interfere with this assessment of your feelings. Yes. Oh, Buffy's got a question. This has got to be a good one.
The question I have is, does a consumer have to be pre-approved with SunWest in order to submit their loan, or can they be pre-approved with a different lender? If they do have to be pre-approved with SunWest, how long does the pre-approval take?
Okay, so, I mean, SunWest doesn't really care if you're pre-approved with another lender or not. Doesn't matter, right? Let's say you're a realtor or a loan officer working with the consumer. You take the information, you drop into Morgan, W-2s, pay stubs, whatever you got, drop it in there. Morgan will underwrite the file. Like I said earlier, if you did it right now at 7 o'clock at night, no later than 8 a.m. tomorrow, you will have what we call a true approval. This stands for thoroughly reviewed and underwritten. Right? We stand behind that approval. When you get that approval and it's got 10 conditions on it, that's not going to change, it's final. Those 10 conditions, we stand behind that. Okay, so it's an absolute approval. Right, so we don't differentiate between a pre-approval and then we say, okay, submit the file and we're going to underwrite it all over again and get a whole new set of conditions. There's no such thing. It's one and done. Okay? Any other questions?
Okay, the mortgage company has to be approved because most lenders require
requires a mortgage company to be approved before they can submit any loans. I have my broker, and he usually submits about, I do the escrows for them. And I have probably about, I would say, he has in the pipeline, the last I checked, we have almost 80% of the loans on hold because they haven't been approved with the lenders that he has been approved, he does business with. So today I told him I was coming over here, and he said, well, just find out if my company needs to be approved to submit my pipeline with them because it's almost 80% on hold to be approved.
Okay, so about how many loans does he have on hold right now?
Right now I have 150 escrows on hold. We're supposed to be closing the last month, and we haven't been able to close them because they're behind.
Okay.
He closes probably about, I would say, between 300 and 400 a month. And that's hurting him because some of them has been canceled because the borrowers are upset that they're on hold for a long time.
Yeah, got it. So this is the way it works for new brokers. You could take the documents submitted to Morgan, you don't have to be approved, and Morgan will give you the results. Okay. You can also, when you go into Morgan, and you can say, I want to get approved. Okay, you will start getting emails. It'll literally take you, I just did this, I was on the phone with a broker that responded to an ad, and I took that call. And in about a 10-minute conversation, he was approved. Okay, he went into Morgan, he says, while I was on the phone with him, he asked Morgan for broker approval. Morgan sent it to him, sent him the document. One simple sign-up sheet, he filled that in, then he got the e-signed contract. He clicked sign, it was done. Right. So within about 10 minutes, he was ready to submit loans, like officially submit loans. Or you could just tell him to go to usemorgan.com and say, I want to get approved. And that's all he's got to do. Say, I'm a broker, I want to get approved, and the machine will start. Right. Okay. And then he said he has 150 loans. He could drop them all in tonight. He'll have them all approved by tomorrow morning.
Do you offer TBD approvals? Ooh, that's loud.
Yes, we do offer TBD approvals. That's, as I was saying earlier, that is called a true approval. TRU approval stands for thoroughly reviewed and underwritten. Okay, so you drop in the loan documents like you drop in the loan documents like you would do for any other pre-approval, except when we issue the approval, again, no later than 8 a.m. next morning, it's final. All right, usually, every other place, when you get a TBD approval, then it's just like a quick gloss over, right? Because it's human, it's manual. They don't have the time. They don't want to spend the money on doing a real underwrite. So they don't do a real underwrite. They just kind of run a quick DU and they say, okay, here's a TBD approval. And it does not worth anything. It's worthless. Okay. When you get an approval from Morgan, it's 100% guaranteed. Right. And the Morgan approval, if you're missing 10 documents, if you need 10 things, it'll ask you exactly for 10 things. Not one condition more, not one condition less. Exactly 2 agency guidelines. Right. FHA, VA, USDA, Fannie Mae guidelines. Yes, go ahead.
Can you lock that?
Yes, you can lock. It's funny because these days everyone's asking for lock and shop. Yeah. When SunWest started in 1980, you know what the interest rates were back then? It was like 19%. Right? We were doing GPM loans. They were called GPM loans, FHA GPM loans. The only way to get a mortgage done back then was $60,000, $70,000 loans. Right? I still remember those. And so you start at 19%, but the first year the payment was like 12 or 13%, and it went up every year. One payment. It's negative amortization for like 5 years. Right? So hopefully we don't get to 19%, but right? If you're complaining about interest rates today at 6%, just remember we started this company when interest rates were 19% and we succeeded and we thrived. There's plenty of business out there. You just got to be smart. You got to spend your time in front of your customer. That's how you win. Right? Don't be like the guy in the video. Don't be in the hood of the car, right? Trying to mess around with the wiring. Right? Don't play around with the wiring. Get in front of the customer. It's still, worst case estimate, it's still a $1.5 trillion industry this year. Worst case. It's huge, right? There's roughly 5 million loans will be done the next 12 months. That's the estimate. And there's about 100,000 active loan officers in the country. Right? That's approximately 42 loans per loan officer. It's plenty of business. Just go out there and get it. 42 is a magic number. You know why? SunWest has been in business 42 years. Okay, so SunWest pricing is on Loan Shifter. You can, if you're a broker, you can go on Loan Shifter and see our pricing. Okay, and we also have our built-in pricing engine, and of course the two will match. The only time the Loan Shifter and our pricing engine is apart, because Loan Shifter takes an update once an hour, right? And our pricing engine is real time. Oh, and that's the other interesting thing about our pricing engine. I think one of maybe two other lenders that offer this. You can lock with us 24 hours a day. There's no, like the market, the MBS market closes at 2 o'clock Pacific, right? The Treasury markets are open 24 hours. They're only closed for 1 hour. Okay, because the Treasury markets are open 24 hours a day, we have a very sophisticated proprietary hedging system. You can lock with us anytime, even on weekends.
I don't understand how they can submit documents that are not pre-approvals from SunWest. So like what, if someone is looking for a loan rate, is it only SunWest that provides that? Or like, do they come in with their own rates? How does that work exactly? Using a different mortgage loan, like mortgage loan company. How does that work?
Why would you use a different mortgage loan company?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you want to be in the hood of that car and messing around with the wiring?
Okay, yeah. So that's the question she had earlier, right? When she was saying like if someone already has a pre-approval, you said they just submit their documents.
Oh, okay. All right. So the way I understood her question was the way I understood that question was if you have a pre-approval from somebody else, okay, and then you want to get a true approval from Morgan, you could just take the same document, submit it to Morgan, and Morgan will give you another approval. I mean, it's like what I was saying earlier, pre-approvals from other lenders, they're worthless. I mean, every realtor knows that. I mean, like it's a formality, okay, it's better than nothing. Okay. Our true approvals are conditionally guaranteed. Right? We will literally close on that pre-approval because it doesn't get underwritten again. Right? You know that. Every other lender, you get a TBD approval, and then you submit the file, and then it's underwritten all over again. Right? And so you're playing Russian roulette. You don't know. Right? In this system, you get one approval, it's it. It's final. Yeah.
So you will run the credit again?
Well, if you've already ran the credit, you submit the credit that you ran. And if you ran it through, if you run DO, right, all you do is you give us the credit reference number and it'll pull it. You just tell Morgan, here's the credit reference number, and it'll go pull it. They'll do a reissue.
But you can close out someone else with pre-approval? Is that what you said?
No, we just underwrite again.
Oh, okay.
We just ignore. You give us the documents that you gave the other lender, and we'll re-underwrite it. But we'll completely underwrite it.
I have a question that I guess was asked outside, but can we dump documents into Morgan, or is it an individual upload of each document?
That's a good question. So on the Morgan UI, there's a little button. You could take camera, you can take pictures of it from your phone, right? And it'll just like any other app, you could just take pictures and I'll dump it in. If you've done a mass scan using a high-speed scanner, and you got one big PDF with all the documents, you just take that same PDF and you just drop it into Morgan, and it'll take care of the rest. You don't have to label it, you don't have to do anything. The AI goes through, reads the documents, it pulls the data off, it categorizes it, splits it, does the whole thing.
Can Morgan speak different languages?
Oh, that's a good question. Yes, Morgan can speak just about any language. Over 100 languages Morgan can speak. We've on the user interface, we've shown 2 languages. Show a drop down with the 100 languages, it just gets a little unwieldy. And so right now we show Spanish and Korean. And one of the reasons we show Korean, obviously Spanish is obvious, there's 20% of the American population speaks Spanish. Korean is one of our partner banks, US Metro Bank, Korean Bank, their clients, they use Morgan, so that we turn on Korean on the user interface. Okay, and if you do use Morgan for another language, especially a language that does not use English, Latin script, right? English characters, then make sure you install the keyboard, like Korean keyboard or Farsi keyboard or whatever. I mean, literally Chinese, Japanese, supports it all. Just have the keyboard installed, otherwise it won't work properly.